Well, hello everyone. Hello, Jeff.
Hello, Vivian.
How are you?
I am doing pretty well. How about yourself?
I'm not too bad, not too bad considering the rain and everything here today. But we've needed it, so I'm not complaining. But what about you? What's the weather like where you are in Vancouver? Is it Vancouver you're in?
Yes, Vancouver, Washington. I got to say, the original Vancouver, not that really expensive imitation in Canada.
Yeah.
We're just hopefully at the tail end of a heat wave. Today, I'm not sure in Celsius, it should be 92 degrees Fahrenheit. Uh,
Still hot.
yeah, but you know what? Last year, by this time, we'd had maybe 10 days above 110 degrees. So that,
Oh,
we haven't had any with that temperature this year so far. So I remind
oh,
myself of that.
yeah. Well, hopefully it'll start cooling down just a little bit. We don't want it to cool down too much, but just a little bit to make it more comfortable.
Yeah, a little bit of rain as well. I have 2.5 hectares of wooded acreage, and I this time of year I always worry that I'll have 2.5 hectares of burned trees. If it's
Oh, yeah, yeah. Well, we got some people dropping in to say hello to you, Jeff. Gary says hello to us all, and oh, my thing doesn't work very well. Claire Wallace says hello, hello, Claire,
Hello, Claire.
and Kelly. Hi, Kelly.
Hello, Kelly and Dan.
So, so can everyone just do me a favour and share this out, please, because my machine's not working very well, and I managed to share it out to a couple of pages. But if you can give me a hand with that, I'd be very grateful to everybody in the chat. So you mentioned, Jeff. Like, I must tell everyone because I know you personally, but for people that don't know you, you are what I'm going to consider. And I know people say there are no experts in this field, but I class you as one. And I'm going to call you an expert. You are a historian, a paranormal researcher, an investigator, an author, an expert. I'm going to call you on Bigfoot.
Oh, thank you.
Um, I am. Because when you live in a place where it's seen quite a lot, you
Mhm.
know, squatching over there is quite a big thing. So I'm quite jealous that you can just go out any day you like and just go sitting in a wooded area and maybe see something. So my first question to you is: have you seen or have you heard Sasquatch or Bigfoot, or whatever you want to call it?
You know, as you lean in closer towards the camera and you ask me that question, I must give you the slightly disappointing answer of not me personally.
Okay.
Uh, but not for want of trying. I worked as an archaeologist for the United States Forest Service for
Wow.
many years, and including out of the Wind River District, which is in the Columbia River Gorge of the Cascade Mountains, and
Yeah.
it's within Skamania County. And as a little bit of trivia, Skamania County passed an ordinance that made it illegal to hunt Bigfoot.
Really?
They did. It's on the books. And I find it also kind of interesting, maybe coincidental, in that it was passed on an April 1st, but that does
Oh.
not make it a non-law. It is the
Oh.
law.
So
And
when you say hunt, I'm not talking about shooting them and just going out looking for them.
oh,
Because
looking is one thing, going out to shoot is another, and that's what the
yeah,
ordinance counts.
yeah, we don't know. We don't like shooting. Why would you hurt something like as gorgeous and as amazing as a Sasquatch? Why would you want to?
Well,
I don't get it.
there was a professor at Washington State University. His name was Grover Krantz, and he was doing seriously as an anthropologist, archaeologist. He was doing Bigfoot research in the late '60s, early '70s, and he gathered a lot of symposium and discussion groups about the very subject amongst professionals.
Hmm.
And he himself advised someone bringing in at least one, and that was because it
Oh,
is a controversy. It's the only way you're going to prove it he said. You can get all the castor plasts, the footprints you want. You can get a whole bunch of non-diagnostic hair, but in his day, that was the only thing, was to bring in a real body. In 1960, was it 60? The late 60s, it was the Robert Gimlin
That's
and
right.
Patterson film, and that's still controversial. Everybody's kind of, the dividing line is for real or it's not.
Yeah.
And now I would have to say, with all of the genetic testing capabilities of our society, some blood would probably suffice. Uh, but
Yeah.
somebody has to be out there with a syringe saying, "Would you sit quietly while we do this?" They'll get maybe. And for anybody from the United States, there was a marketing campaign for a snack food called Slim Jim, which were like little sticks of pepperoni, and their advertiser was a Bigfoot. And so maybe we'll give him some
Oh,
Slim Jims, and he'll sit down passively while we stick him.
I don't think it will.
I don't think so
I
either.
don't think it will. Annette Locke in the chat says, "Good evening to." I can't show this. There's something wrong with my computer today. Hi, Annette.
Hello, Annette.
How are you? And Chantel, all the way from South Africa. Hi, Chantel.
Oh, Chantel, you've come a long way.
Yeah, we love Chantel. She's my paranormal daughter.
Oh,
As I
cool.
got. And
And Lynn.
Lindy. Hi, Lynn. That looks beautiful. That river there looks like the Columbia River. How I
I
remember it.
I don't see it, so
Oh, I put it at the bottom. If you look at the bottom of the screen, where it's got.
uh, I actually get just a little gray block. Otherwise,
Oh,
but that's okay.
oh,
That's
sorry.
okay. It must
But
be my bandwidth problems.
that could be my end because it's been playing up today. But you are also a
Mhm.
historian, and as well as an archaeologist, but you are a definite historian. Oh,
Well, thank you.
Lindy says she's in Washington State.
Oh, okay. Where at, Lindy? Don't keep us waiting.
Bride
Br-
says good evening as well.
Good evening, Bry. See,
So
this is
you,
the. I'm sorry to interrupt. This is the wonderful thing about actually these telecasts is not, it just past noon where I am, and it's evening where you are,
mm,
and if you coordinate correctly, we everybody gets to see each other live. Remember when we were youthful, and a telephone conference was almost magical.
yeah, definitely. Oh, she's going to blow my socks off now.
Oh, okay.
I, I live in Olympia, Washington.
You are
She's
not too far from Shelton, and in the woods in the Shelton area. A lot of Bigfoot sightings up that area.
Oh, I've got to go. I've got to go. Wow.
We'll load you up with a tent, and probably two folding chairs, one for you and an extra large one for the Bigfoot.
Yeah, a
And
cup of tea, a tea set, a service so we can sit and have tea together, me and Bigfoot.
I I hope Bigfoot is not lactose intolerant.
No, it won't be. That's what us Brits do. Sit down and have a cup of tea. I don't remember when I was youthful. It was a very, very long time ago. She's lovely, she is.
When I wake up in the morning, I don't feel youthful either. Got to twist, stretch,
Stretch the bones, crack them all back into place.
and, and,
So,
and yes, go ahead, go.
so Jeff, so you're an archaeologist and an historian, and also an author. And I know you've written a series of books, one of which I've got in my hand here. I
Vancouver,
just open
USA
it and say
Ghosts,
ghosts.
Volume 1. Yeah. I
So,
live in Vancouver, grew up there, and Vancouver is, depending on who you arm wrestle with, is one of the oldest Euro-American settlements, dating to the 1820s, 1830s. And so, in comparison with British Isles, not that long ago, but for the United States, quite a while,
Yeah.
and plenty of time to accumulate ghost stories.
But you've all your ghost stories about the areas of the Northwest. I mean, I have another book which is in my bedroom, which is Ghosts of Astoria. We spoke about that briefly because I'd been to these places when I was visiting over there, and I saw your book, so I had to grab one. Because not only is it sort of refreshing memories in my mind, I'm reading a bit about the history of the place, and not just the ghosts. It's a bit more than that, with the places that I visited. I mean, do you go out looking on researching for these stories, or do people come to you with the stories? How are you finding out this information, Jeff? How are you working it?
It's a combination of both. When I started years ago, I used to go on little road trips, and that was before a lot of records got digitized. So
Yeah.
I would get in my car and kiss my wife on the cheek and say I'll be back in a week or two, and I would road trip to the smaller towns and cities in Washington and Oregon, visit the library or historical societies, and
Mhm.
and go from there. And after I started writing, people would come to me with stories, and now I get emails. I do. I'm not sure as a phenomenon in the United States. We have Christmas bazaars. 90% of all books given as gifts are Christmas presents, and so people will buy books, and then they will say, "Oh, by the way, my house is haunted," and
Yeah.
oftentimes I get stories that way.
I've got some more things that have come up in the chat, so let me show you. Uh, Lindy says, I live in the Olympic National Forest, which is the Black Hills. She must get swamped with Bigfoots up there.
I, and as well as a lot of tree moss and rain. That Olympic National Forest is one wet place. Plenty of habitat for Bigfoot.
Wet place, bit like England, really. It always rains here.
Yeah. I think 6 feet of rain a year.
Bryce says he'll bring the syringe
Syringe so that we can get
to
that
get
blood
the
sample.
blood. I have put a website up for you guys if you want to have a look at Jeff's website. Honestly, I suggest you do, and you can buy his books on his website as well. Will you post to the UK, Jeff?
I will for your audience.
There you go. So if you want one of his books, which I highly recommend, I'm not just saying it, I highly recommend them. Go to the website, have a look, and see what you think, because he's got lots and lots of stuff over there to look at. It's not just about his books. There's other things on there too. But have a little nosy. The website's there for you.
Yeah.
So,
Uh-huh.
Jeff, what is your views on Indigenous relations to spirit? Brian wants to know.
If you're talking Native American traditions, um, this is one of these. This is part of the background that I love doing this research. Is one whole sub branch of anthropology is the study of myths, and by myths I don't mean just cutesy stories. I mean these traditions about why things happen, or pre-literate societies, and the question is, do we create myths because we want to uh, kind of reinforce whatever society says morally is right or wrong, like Hansel and Gretel and stepmothers, or do these myths exist because this stuff actually happened?
Mm.
And it is amazing to me, across the world, where there are these myths that were told and eventually written down, that when you actually try and investigate them, it turns out, what, they're pretty true. And so the Native American traditions having in the Pacific Northwest, having to do with what we call Sasquatch, one of the other, which is a derivative from, I can't even pronounce it, Skikiak or Skikiach. Some of the native folk on the coast have that as a name,
Yeah.
is very very detailed, very intricate, and very similar from some traditions. And when they talk about the characteristics of these creatures from Alaska, and then looking down over some of the native stories from Spokane, Washington, inland, a couple hundred miles, is very very similar. And is that again because the stories just get traded, or is it because these things are being experienced all across the region, and so their
Yeah.
behavior is the same? And so these actually, to me, are more questions that with modern experimentation, hopefully we can verify or add to. That
Yeah.
probably is much longer of an answer than she expected, but
Dave Rogan says, "Hey, over the pond." He puts a
hello,
thumbs
Dave.
up there. It's an old school buddy. He is way back when we were younger. And it says it's really interesting to know the history of anything found, which makes amazing reading.
I agree. I agree. My actually, I'm an alumni of the University of Sheffield,
Yeah,
Department of Archaeology and Prehistory, and my dissertation was on the Vikings in Greenland. So I had to look a lot at the Viking sagas. How true were they to the archaeology? So I am really used to, and in a way, it's like you have two or three different sets of realities that you have to consider: the reality of the sagas, the reality of even modern or the historical research, as well as the
mhm.
archaeological research, and try and figure out what's right and what does this mean. Uh,
I have a question for you.
okay,
The Viking stone in America, do you think it's real or is it fake?
now this is the one from Minnesota, right?
That's the one, yeah.
You know what? I suffer from a natural bit of incredulity about that particular stone, but I am 100% convinced that the Norse were in North America many times,
Yeah,
more so even in the sagas. Because there's the interesting thing about a saga: somebody has to come back alive to tell everybody about it to eventually write it down. So how
yeah,
many other shiploads went and never came back?
yeah,
Plenty.
yeah. I do like that Viking stone thing theory, and I love the archaeology and and just following these two guys and what they're doing. I just love it. I love that sort of thing. So Annette says, "Oh, it's not. I'm back to Chantel. Chantel said about Bigfoot doesn't come near South Africa. He's scared of getting mugged." That is funny. And Terry Davison says, "Hello,
Hello,
hi
Terry.
Terry." So I want to ask you as now, not just the history,
Hmm.
but you're also a TV personality. I'm going to get onto it. So I've known you to be on programs like Ghost Adventures, The Dead Files, Alaskan Killer, Bigfoot, and there's many more if we go back. But I'm just going to mention those for now.
Uh-huh.
So your career on these programs, um, oh, this is really lovely. Casey's just stopping in to say hi, you two. Hi,
Hey,
Casey.
Casey. Is this the same Casey from Black Horse Comics?
Yes,
It is.
it is.
And I have yet to invite myself over to his house for his barbecue brisket, but when maybe he'll invite both of us, Vivian, when you're
Yeah.
back next.
I'm coming back in 2 years and it will be in November. And hopefully you'll be able to make it too. But I'm going to the Port Gamble Ghost Conference. I won't be speaking. There'll be somebody else. I'll be just hanging around. But maybe we can hook up. And if it's not too dangerous, go and have a look at some squatching.
Maybe we'll see what we can do.
Yeah. So you've been on these TV programs. And I
Yes.
must admit, when I'm watching them, I'm a little bit sort of biased because I know you personally. But I look at it and you really do come with lots of good information. I'm talking about the Dead Files now because that's the more recent one. Actually, I lie. It's Alaskan Killer Bigfoot, but you come with a lot of information, a lot of history and a backstory, and you give so much detail. So you're not just there just to appear on a TV show. You're actually there to do a job, which I find quite refreshing because you don't see that a lot now on these programs. I take, for example, and I love the program. I'm not dissing it at all, but Ghost Adventures. People want to go on Ghost Adventures because they want to be seen, and they want to be seen with Zach, or they want to be seen with Aaron, and so it's more like a bit of fun. But what you do is the more serious side, where you're actually bringing lots of information to these guys. So I want to say to you, thank you for doing that, because we need more people like you that actually have a level head and not
Well,
off with the fairies.
we need more shows that do that as well.
Yes. No, I
And
agree.
yeah, and I enjoy doing this. It's kind of interesting in that there are other historians and archaeologists who are better educated or way smarter than me. But
Don't sell yourself short because you
well,
are. You're pretty good.
well, thank you. But the thing that holds some of them back is they're afraid of being stigmatized by being on this kind of a show, and they view it as not legitimate. And I have to go back and say, if you want to make these shows legitimate, then you should be one of the first people to volunteer to be
Yeah.
talking history. And um and so uh, that's kind of my stance on this. I have been approached by some people because I have a whole serious body of work that I do. I do military history.
Yeah.
I do research and writing and reports, and I'm very serious about that. But I love doing this part too, as well, doing the same kind of research. What makes a ghost story interesting is not somebody being possessed and spitting up pea soup. Is why, what happened? What's the context? Is this person at fault, or why is the ghost still there? And that's what I'm interested in. I try and bring. If anybody in the audience ever read books by Hans Holzer, or saw the Holzer files, where they go back to some of these original locations, if you like the format of my books, it's because I was inspired by, so I didn't say I ripped off Hans Holzer, because it's just the style that always interested me was context and historic background, and Holzer's books were full of that. And
Yeah.
the lively ghosts of Ireland, and also he used to wander around with what I would call consulting psychics. In the 1960s, it was a woman named Sybil Leek,
Yeah.
and so they would visit these historic locations. He wouldn't tell her anything, and she was a trance channel medium, and so she would allow herself to be, for want of a better word, possessed temporarily, channeling these other spirits. And um, and so I did for many years. I would have kind of my own consulting psychics, and who would oftentimes go with me, and
Yeah.
I'd never tell them the background until afterward, when we were done with the visit. And then I would get, we're in the car, I get nudged in the ribs. So, Jeff, now tell me about it. And so then I would unload, and I enjoy it, and so I hope everybody else does too. And we need more shows like that.
Yeah. I've got to just quickly say, Von's in the chat and she did say hello. I can't find it because they've been. There she is. She's saying hello to everybody in the chat. So Von just wanted to say hello.
Hello, Vaughn.
There's been a lot of going backwards and forwards at the minute. But Terry says, "Is good, Jeff. Yours is not all demons or demonic." Laugh out loud.
No, no, unless you talk to my ex-wife. But no, no, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. We're friends. We're friends. Uh, well, and here, this brings up the question of, what does somebody mean by demonic or demon? Do you really mean old school, to steal from uh, Ghostbusters? You mean wrath of God kind of stuff, downtrodden, downcast angels, or do you mean a malevolent spirit that does evil things?
Or is it just your perception of what you think demons are or what demonic is? It's your own personal perception of it, isn't it, really? I think with each individual it could change.
Yes, absolutely. And this is the interesting thing is we don't actually have a like a dictionary of words and definitions that everybody agrees on.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure if we had a standardized dictionary of ghost hunting terms, whether or not that would stifle what people are doing or make it easier to actually have a meeting of minds and comprehend what everybody's talking about.
But I think if you was to try and get that together from around the world, I think it would be so difficult because like even our language to yours is completely different. William had to tell me off. There's certain words I don't say when I'm over there. And I did forget myself a couple of times. And, just walking around the supermarket, I kept saying, I want to buy a sprig of coriander. And I'm walking around and I can't find this coriander. And I even asked someone, and didn't know what I was talking about.
And they said, "Oh, you mean cilantro?"
Cilantro. Yes. I went, what's that? And they went, this. I went, yeah, coriander. So it's just so funny. I mean, I think the same thing's got to happen in the paranormal as well. We might mean it one way, somebody else might mean it another.
Yeah, absolutely. But it does if you actually approach a discussion with somebody and know that you may have to ask them to kind of back up a little bit and re-explain. And if somebody's asking you to do that, be a little patient with them,
Yeah.
so that you really are not mixing up, or you may be talking about the very same thing, but you don't know that you're talking about the same thing.
Yeah, I must say, William Becker thought it was highly amusing because I'd spent a few days looking for this stuff. And when I did find it, he just said, he went like that, face plant in his hand, and he went, oh my God. But we do have fun adventures together, I must admit.
Please do not. Oh,
I'll read this out to you. Molly Obia. Hi, Molly.
hello, Molly.
She says, you could go for a walk back in the trails of Port Gamble. We heard something unexplainable. I agree with your stance of being part of shows. That might not be something you agree with the style, but it brings perspective by some people that may not get a chance to experience otherwise.
I agree.
So,
I agree.
Yeah, I agree too.
Oh, one of the greatest mistakes though is, and please nobody be offended. In America, if you want to order a couple more beers and you're sitting some distance from the bar, you get the bartender's attention by going, 2 beers, please.
Really?
Yeah. And for those of you who live in the British Isles, particularly descendants of those who stood at Agincourt with Henry V, this means we have our bow fingers. We still have our bow fingers and
up yours, so sort of thing.
Yeah. But my sister-in-law, first time she was in England, she was at a bar and she was trying to order, and there were just 2 of them. And if it's 3 fingers, that's not a big deal. But she was wondering why people were frowning at her.
That's so funny. Oh dear. Lindy says, so cool that psychics with you, super cool. So she's happy that you use psychics.
And I was too, because one of the things I found is the critics who to me are unreasonable about psychics and psychic ability. One of the things that I think they're unfair about is they will go through with somebody who believes they're psychic and they will count the number of predictions or part of their reading, and then they will say, well, you made 12 predictions, only 7 of which were true. You missed 5. And you know what? Nobody is ever 100%. I have known people who are tremendously gifted, and they're pretty miserable. And I would think that you would be insane having all this stuff flashing at you all the time. And so if somebody's just guessing, that's consider this. You go to a house and say, and you and I know, doing this as an experiment, somebody thinks they're psychic, they go with us, stand outside the house. So is this house haunted or not? You got a 50-50 chance. You notice I'm going sideways with my fingers.
Yeah.
How about that? You got a 50-50 chance of it being haunted or not. All right. So they guess correctly, yes, the house is haunted. So they're 50%. Second question um, is it a man or a woman, male or female? Another 50% chance, but overall it's a 25%. They're 1 in 4 now.
Mm,
And then you say what age? Infant, child, youth, young adult, older adult. You're now amping up the possibilities of you're just guessing and being wrong, or
yeah.
and right. And then what floor is it? Is it the basement, the ground floor, first floor, second floor, attic? And if you view it that way, and somebody has all of these increasingly longer odds, and yet they're consistent. They do guess somebody died in the attic by hanging, but they guessed the age wrong. You know what? You're still pretty good,
Yeah,
in my
yeah,
opinion.
yeah. I mean, it's like Amy on the Dead Files. She sort of walks around outside, all the pictures, everything is covered. Um, and she works outside before she actually goes inside. And she's
Mhm.
not prompted, is she?
No,
It is what it is with her.
yeah, and I've never met Amy, and that is part
Really?
of yeah, that is part of the show where they say, no, Amy never talks to anybody, but later on Steve. So I've never actually met Amy, never shook her hand, because I'm there in the daytime and she's there at night.
Ah. I was going to ask you if you'd ever seen her at work because it's like what she does. It's so intense. I wondered how that affected her after the show, like because the energy level that she's working on, it's such a high vibration.
Hmm.
I'm not one of these that big up other mediums because I always look for the flaws, but with her, I cannot find any. I cannot find any with Amy. I think she's a very good medium. I'll put my neck out and say that yes, I would recommend her. I think her work is brilliant. Um, and I wonder how much that exhausts her at the end of each investigation. She must be exhausted.
Probably one of my clairvoyant friends, her name was Janet, and we get done with a visit, and she'd do a
Mm.
reading, and she would get really snippy with me, and then about half an hour later she'd fall asleep. And if I'm driving the car, she's like,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
and that would last a couple of hours, and she
yeah,
would be all groggy afterward.
yeah. I can imagine. So let's get back to the questions. Jason Hassler from Oregon. Can we maybe get Jeff to reenact his Bigfoot walk from last Sunday's presentation? And I know that you was at a presentation. Was it at the Underbar?
It was. Vancouver, Washington has only one underground bar, and it's called the Underbar, and it is tremendously haunted. It has kind of a checkered past, as many basements slash billiard halls slash Alcoholics Anonymous slash Memorial Chapel meeting halls do. And William Becker and a man named Ben Robison were on panel with me, um, talking about most recently what's happening kind of in the Bigfoot realm as far as people investigating cryptozoology post COVID, as well as we had a long discussion about the Patterson Gremlin film.
Yeah,
And the film was taken. It's a 16 millimeter color film. It was done up on a movie camera that was actually designed for, like, if you've seen World War II footage, it was designed in that way. So there's a stick, and that's what you hold the camera up with. And it had two or three lenses,
yeah,
and you could actually change the recording speed, anything from, I don't remember the exact numbers, but from 18 frames to 25 frames to 32 to 72 for different playback. And so it would not be very difficult for anybody if you've never seen the actual quote original film. You can find it some places on YouTube. The interesting thing about the film is that Patterson, once he had it printed, started making money by going to like county fairs or schools for school assemblies and running the film and doing presentations on that. And then he had copies made from that original film, and the original film's lost. And
Mm.
so he had copies made from the original after it had been used. And so there are all these scratched up third, fourth, fifth generation copies of the film out there. And over the years, especially with technology changes in digital photography, every so often there's a new change in the algorithms and how they correct photos, and people have redigitized the film,
Yeah.
and you can see those. And so yes, at the presentation, thank goodness nobody had their phone camera going to film me, but I was asked to recreate the kind of not quite lope, but not quite human gait of the Bigfoot if you see the Patterson film. And I guess I did the best. That's why they want to see it again. But
Did you get the swinging arms right? The
I
way they
did, and I
swing
even
the
did the
arms.
head turn and the body turn.
Do you know
But I
that
cannot do
camera?
it. I cannot do it in front of my laptop. I'm sorry, I'm not moving.
You know that camera, the actual camera, is in the North American Bigfoot Center's museum. It was donated to Cliff Barrickman, and he now has it, and he has it on display. And he shows the Patterson Gimlin film and other memorabilia that he was given to do with that. So that's quite interesting listening to you talking about that, because I've watched recently some experts talk about that film, these so-called experts,
Hmm?
and some within the Bigfoot community, and they took measurements, they went to the place, they saw the tree, the stumps and all the rest of it, and from that they deduced that that was a female Sasquatch, not a male. So their theories of coming out and saying all of this, and I'm thinking, oh well, that's interesting. I wouldn't have thought about that, and that I just think that's the whole Sasquatch thing itself. I just love it. I love it. I love it. I love it.
Don't. I sense you're holding back, Vivian. Just let it out. Let us all know how you feel.
Oh, in my next life, if you can have former lives and come back again and be something else, I'm coming back as a Sasquatch because I want to
Ah,
know what it's about.
make sure you learn how to walk like a Sasquatch.
Yeah, I leave plenty of footprints. Don't you worry. So Bry in the chat, he says, yes, the Chinese idea of spirit is woven into folklore. And again, I think with the indigenous people of America, the Native American or Canadian Indians, however you look at it, I think it's a big part of their folklore as well. The ancestors they talk about, and how they celebrate them and go to them for advice and guidance and their spirituality. I think that's been going on for hundreds of years, right across the world, not just with them. And it's important.
Yes, and part of this too is a lot of the Native American religious and oral history, their tradition about the world itself is has a lot of catastrophism,
Mm.
in that the world will exist and there will be some kind of catastrophe and the entire world changes, and that includes and not necessarily wiped out but changes, in that there are supernatural beings who were in the old world, they were all powerful,
Yeah.
and and there's some kind of a catastrophe, and they are too powerful to simply cease to exist, but they change, they morph, they turn into something else.
Mm.
And so those are, for want of a better word, in a lot of the Chinookan, the word is skookum or skookum, and
Yeah.
that is a supernatural being. And so there are numerous across the Pacific Northwest into Alaska. There are numerous Skookum Meadows or Skookum Plains or Skookum Mountains that have some kind of association with a supernatural being. Not, all Bigfoots are Skookums,
Yeah.
but not all Skookums are Bigfoot. And to kind of dip a little bit into surrounding Alaskan killer Bigfoot, there are other things besides the Bigfoot, the cuddly Ewok that kill people
Yeah.
and do damage. And so there were even different kinds of Sasquatch. There were these short ones who would carry sticks, and they would hit trees with them, and you'd see all these trees, uh, you know, falling, approaching you, and kind of at the base of this, walking toward you with a stick, knocking the trees out of the way, would be
Whoa.
this very small Sasquatch, and they were very malevolent. They were not at all friendly.
No. And you also have the things like the skinwalker, don't you, as well? Like that to me sounds quite frightening. I wouldn't want to see one of those, but
From a distance, from a distance.
yeah, stay over there. Don't come over here. But we're busy over here drinking tea.
With the cuddly Sasquatch.
I don't mind them. And I don't mind if they howl at me. I don't mind that either. But anyway, let's get back to these questions in the chat. So, Lindy says, I agree totally what you said about the psychics. It's so true.
Yeah. Whoa,
Already.
a
I got a cup of
disembodied arm.
I got a cup of tea. He looks after me. You've got your Dr. Pepper.
Because I care about my body. It's Diet Dr. Pepper.
Yeah. Doug William Becker and have him do readings for me, and I've taken his classes. He is a great guy. He's a good friend of ours, isn't he, Jeff?
Yeah.
We know William well. And she says, love William Becker, who's a beautiful soul. Love doing his classes with him and getting readings. And Jason, what is this? The William Becker fan club? William Becker is so awesome. What about Jeff? What about me?
It's okay. It's okay. In the month of October, as a star, I ascend to G level, maybe even F level
Do you?
popularity. Yeah.
I stay right at the bottom. I'm more like the X, Y, or Z.
Oh, come on now.
People want me down, honestly. I don't mind it. I don't mind being there. Somebody's got to do it. Terry says, didn't someone work out it was a female? I think they're talking about the Patterson Gimlin tape.
Some of this was initially no, but after a time when they were starting to examine it frame by frame by frame, and as early as I think 1995, somebody actually said, "Nope, I see boobies." When it turns, I see boobies. They're pendulous. Okay, what's the English for boobies?
Boobies. We
Okay,
call it boobies as well.
okay,
Boobies,
all
yeah.
right. See,
Or
our common
breasts.
language. Okay. And but what's happened when they've done these photo enhancements with software, it has become a lot more pronounced that
Right.
the number of people disagreeing. The first person who suggested it's a female and there are breasts, they were kind of no, we disagree with you. But now it's a lot more evident with the photoshopping.
Yeah. Yeah. I wish people wouldn't do that, Photoshop, because they make Sasquatch appear in places where he didn't exist, and it sort of knocks the whole thing out of the water. Like, oh look, this is fake, that's fake. When you've got the real ones that actually are there and have been photographed, they
Yeah.
get overlooked because of these other ones that are putting in fakes. And I suppose it goes right across the board: ghosts, UFO, the whole shebang. Like, I just wish people would behave.
Yeah, and this is the unfortunate thing with trolling, where people will deliberately say something offensive just because for whatever their motivation. Similarly, you have skeptics creating these phony things and then saying, "Ha ha, I fooled you. Look how see it is fake. All this other stuff is fake because I could fake it." you also have people who are believers that want evidence. They want to convince everybody, and they will falsify things too.
Yeah.
This is one of the things I found particularly about the Patterson film, is that I would say if you think about 100 people who have opinions on the Patterson film, that it's everybody has their opinion, and when you have the next generation of digital analysis, or the next book is written, or so on, with quote new evidence, very few people have actually have changed their minds.
Yeah.
That is so deeply entrenched that a lot of people who've already made up their mind won't change it no matter what. Getting
Yeah.
back to, why do we need to shoot one?
Yeah. Apparently, so the conspiracy theories say the American government have already shot them and have got them and all the rest of it, but I
Are
don't know.
we putting them in captured UFOs as the next generation of astronauts?
Yeah, could be. Could be. You never know. They've taken them from Mount St. Helens, apparently, when the volcano erupted and they had all these injured Sasquatch. The army were brought in to look after them, in other words.
Wow. And they're
Apparently.
raising them in captivity since that was in 1980.
We'll go to the zoo and see one soon. So Bryce says, I think that's why there were descriptions were so consistent. I think he was talking about the Native American descriptions and things that you were saying.
Mhm.
Is going back to that. And Lindy says, love you both too.
Thank you,
Lindy,
Lindy.
Lindy, if you can, get to the underbar when Jeff does his underbar. How often do
Uh,
you do that, Jeff?
second Tuesday of the month. That is the Vancouver Informal Paranormal Pub. It's a Facebook group. It's a closed group. I started the group years ago when you could open and close a group, but I started it as closed. I cannot open it up, but anyone can locate it. Vancouver Informal Paranormal Pub on Facebook, and send a join request,
Yeah,
and and then I'll include you. Uh, Next month, we're planning on a presentation on the haunted underbar. We're going to, between now and the second Tuesday, we're going to do an investigation there, and hopefully we'll have results for people.
excellent. That sounds exciting. I know because I've been there. I've actually been there, and I met you there.
Mhm.
I was there on your invitation, and I had a great time. I met some lovely, lovely people there. I think that was the place that I met
Yes,
Cherie Davis.
Davis. Yeah,
Oh, what an amazing woman!
a, a,
Um,
a very well-renowned Native American flutist, and
yes,
she currently lives in the Clark County area. And too bad neither of us thought the conversation was going to go this way. You could post a link to her
yeah,
site too.
yeah, definitely, definitely. Honestly, if you get a chance, have a look at Cherie Davis on Facebook. I will put the links up for Cherie. Actually, I'm going to get her on the show. See if she'll come on the show.
Oh, great!
She'll be just an amazing woman, and with her knowledge of her ancestors and the things that she was telling me, and even her music herself, it just speaks volumes. It's amazing. But anyway, we're digressing. We're digressing. This is not about Cherie. So we have some more questions come up in the chat.
Well, you got to put rot grubs on the table for the wife and kids.
Yeah. And Terry says there are areas that the DOD have closed off to the public where they're supposed to be, the Bigfoots, apparently.
Now, you know what? Let's treat that seriously. In that there are numerous places uh, across the world that there are fences up that says human beings don't go there for any reason, and we've got guards around the perimeter. So wildlife, where are the wildlife going to go to avoid hunters? So treating that seriously, I would not doubt that there are havens for all kinds of critters in
Yeah.
these restricted government-owned areas. And let's face it, some Native American reservations across the United States and Canada as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Lindy says, if I can get this to work, she's going to look up the underground bar for sure.
Okay, great. Looking forward to meeting you.
Jason says, who's doing the investigation with you, Jeff?
Right now, it is Ben Robison, and his group is called ACEP, ACEP, and he and his group are local to the Clark County area.
Yeah.
And
And
I have had people ask to join in. That's all entirely up to Ben. He has his team, and everybody's got their own methods of doing things.
yeah.
So I will forward in. I've already forwarded in kind of requests, but I cannot guarantee it. As much as I'd like to make a deal on Vivian's show.
Henry Lee, good afternoon from the old Gilchrist County Jail in Trenton, Florida. Wow.
Well, welcome, Henry.
Welcome, Henry, and welcome all your ghosts as well.
Yeah, you cannot have a place named the Old Gilchrist anything without there being some kind of haunt.
Yeah, definitely. That would be a great place to investigate, I'm sure. I definitely tried to come to see the presentation.
Okay, looking forward to seeing you again, Jason.
They do some good beers in there, and they served food last time I was there, so I don't know if they're still doing that, but I had a whale of a time there, so I'm sure you will too if you go, Jason.
Yeah, the food, they're always changing up the menu. They've got a few staples, but yeah, they're always seem to be trying something new.
Yeah, I think it was Sherry and I. We both like, shall we order? Yeah, let's order. We weren't worried about everybody else. We were just feeding our faces and having fun.
Yep, the hummus plate I like.
Henry says thank you. Thank you. Thank you for checking in with us. It's great to see you. So, please come. I'd love to go. It's easier for you to get there, isn't it, Jeff, than me? How many hours? I'm about 13 hours away from you, Henry, by plane.
Oh, you know what? Probably because there's a 3 hour time zone change as well, and about that. But you know what, Vivian, it would actually probably be quicker for you
Was it?
because I'm on the West Coast, he's on the East Coast. You're only on the other side of the pond. But
Yeah.
let me move my finger. You're on the other side of the. Okay, I can't do the finger thing. I'm sorry. Okay.
Maybe we should. He's at the jail now. He says maybe we should arrange a meet up with Henry. We could just all meet up and have a blast at Henry's jail.
I have to ask this. My ignorance. Is it still used for penal purposes?
It's in North Florida. He's not said yet.
Yeah. If it is, maybe Vivian could take the lead on that one.
We were talking about jails on Tuesday. It was quite funny, like yesterday. Having a para-unity convention
Oh,
in October.
okay.
So maybe we'd have to go. I'd have to arrange it maybe a year in advance. So
Yeah. Let's face it. October. Okay, it's not accepting. It's not used for penal purposes anymore. Good. But yeah, October. I know your busy month. It is mine. Among other things, I do ghost walks at the historic Vancouver Barracks.
yeah.
Founded 1849, the Army left in 2011, and so
Oh wow.
essentially the month of October I am mostly bespoken.
Yeah. Back-to-back investigations, walks, talks. Yeah, October is very, very busy. I must admit, even here, October is a busy month for us here. And I'm sure that next year is going to even be busier still for me. But hey, it is what it is. But
Yeah.
So we're coming up to the top of the show, Jeff, and I did put a link for your website. I need to go and find it again. Let me just get it. I did put a link for your website. So if people want to get in touch with you, is that the best way to do it, through www.ghostsandcritters.com? Is that the
Uh,
best place to find you?
yes, it is. Throughout the website, I have little links that say email Jeff, or they can email me directly. You try and avoid spam bots these days. So there are
Yeah.
some links there, and my address will be there. And so, yeah, people can just email me that way. Uh, and I'd like to hear from people.
Yeah. And also, I need to send you an email, and I'll get onto that shortly as well. So I can't talk about it on here, but I will definitely get an email across to you. But I want to say you'll be back with us in 2 weeks' time, with some other cast members of a show that you're on. I'm so excited about this. Honestly, when Jeff said yes and leave it with me, and we managed to arrange it, I won't mind telling you, I nearly peed my pants. We have not next week, but the week after, we have Jeff back with us and the cast of Alaskan Killer Bigfoot.
Yeah,
So
I go ahead.
if you can make it, I suggest tune in 8 o'clock or watch it on replay. Tell your friends, tell your partners, your family, your granny, whoever's interested in it. Just log in and watch, and you will be pleasantly surprised. These people are amazing, all of them, including Jeff, and their work is fantastic. Just we hope you can join us, but if not, I suggest watch it on replay, and find out about what it is, and then go and watch the TV shows. They're
Yeah,
out there. You need to see them.
yeah, and Alaskan Killer Bigfoot is as the name suggests, it is not cuddly Ewok Sasquatches. And the if you do the background researching before watching the show, if you're skeptical or just want to be better informed, it is historically verifiable. This town in Portlock, Alaska, numerous people went missing or were later their bodies were found. They were murdered, not by a bear, not by any other critter known, and they abandoned the town virtually overnight. It got so bad, and
Yeah,
the native people are considering returning there, but they want it to be a safe place.
yeah, yeah. So if you can join us, not next week, the week after, for that, I think get your questions ready. You can ask whatever questions you want. Uh, they don't mind, so long as you're not rude. If you're rude, we'll block you. That's as simple as that. But our family here is are not rude. We're lovely people, all of them. Jeff, they're lovely. Jamie says hello. He's just come on.
Hi,
Um,
Jamie.
Jamie, you're going to have to watch it on catch up, because we're about to let Jeff go and have the rest of his afternoon. I'm sure he's going to be busy. Annette says she's coming, so she's coming next week, week
Okay,
after next.
great, great.
Love Bigfoot. Vaughn says I'll definitely watch the show on replay. I'm sure it's going to be very interesting.
Yeah, we're wondering whether or not we got renewed.
And Henry Lee says skunk cakes down
Eggs.
here aren't too friendly.
Yep. Well, at least their early warning device is that they smell.
Yeah. What date is the show with Jeff again, please? So not next Wednesday, the Wednesday after, week after next. Honestly, if you can get onto, I mean, I'm watching it on Discovery Plus. So it is out there. It is on Amazon. It is on Discovery. If you have the Travel Channel, it was on there, wasn't it? It was
Uh,
being
it,
aired
it
there.
it was. They finished. It was only 8 episodes for the first season, and we finished that. I'm not sure if they're going to just rebroadcast or not, because it filled a time slot. So please check.
Yeah, we want that second series, third series. There's more to this. They kept us hanging, and we need to know what happens next. So I can't wait for the next series to happen. I really, really love it. But then as you know, Jeff, I'm crazy on Bigfoot anyway. Anything to, Nantinak, anything, skunk apes, all of them. I just love them all. Thank you so much. Truly enjoyed this discussion this afternoon. And thank you so much, the both of you. Lindy, you're very welcome. And don't forget, go and meet Jeff. He's lovely.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure being on the show.
Don't forget the book.
And if you live in Washington or Oregon, go to the used bookstore. You may find copies of Weird Washington or Weird Oregon, which I co-authored. A lot of people use those to actually plan vacations in the Northwest. So that's just from me to you all.
You guys are good at drawing. My little boy would love a drawing of Bigfoot, please. I'll tell you what, why don't you get your son to do a drawing of Bigfoot and then come on the show briefly on the week after next, and let's show the guys the drawing that your son did. Get him on, and if the guy, you can show the guys of Alaskan Killer Bigfoot. This is my version of Nantinak. This is it. This is what I've done for you. They'll love it. Why not? I'm sure they won't mind.
No, I don't think so either. It's interesting. There is a fan site for the show, and on Facebook, and it's managed by the cast of the show, and it's an extended family. Oftentimes, they'll post pictures of themselves with their family and say, "Here, see, we're real people. Look, here is my older brother and my two younger brothers, and we're cleaning fish."
Cleaning fish. Katie Brown says, so many interesting facets to your conversations today. Thank you. Thanks, Jeff, at Viv and Jeff. No, thank you, Katie, and thank you for tuning in. We appreciate you. We really do. Kristen, whoop, whoop. Hi, Kristen. Great show today. Hope to see you again at Oregon Ghost Conference. I loved it. I had such a great time. Did you have a good time there, Jeff?
I did too. I did a couple of presentations and sat at my booth, sold some books, and gathered stories, and that was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was great fun, and it's been great. Love the show. Thank you, Viv and Jeff. We'll be watch the beginning back. No problem, Von.
Yeah.
Terry says, great show, very interesting. We've only even just skimmed the surface, Jeff. I'm going to have to get you back on, I'm afraid.
I'd love to.
We're going to have to get you back on. He's got a white Bigfoot, a white one, a Yeti, I should imagine.
Oh, I thought he was asking about me. No, my shoe size is only 8.5.
You've only got small feet.
I do, and I got small hands too. I guess they look bigger if I go like that, but trust me, they're like little small hands.
But he's not short. You're taller than me, so you're not short.
I don't know what to say. like in what was it? Notting Hill, small shoes mean small feet.
Yeah. Less, and you don't have to pay so much to buy your shoes, because the smaller the size, the smaller the price. That's what I say. My
father could buy in the boys section.
Well, I'm going to wrap this up here, guys. I thank everybody in the chat. Thank you for tuning in to Jeff. I mean, Jeff is an amazing guy. We got him again, as I say, in 2 weeks' time.
Looking forward to it.
Please tune in. You will not be disappointed. And we will get Jeff back on the show as well. I'm going to send you some dates out, Jeff, and we'll get you back. But in the meantime, the website is there. You can go through the chat again, and you can find the website. Go over there and have a look. If you have any questions for Jeff, I'm sure you'll answer them, within reason. But anyway, take care, and we will speak to you in 2 weeks' time, Jeff.
All right, 2 weeks, and I will. I will be getting the guys and possibly one of the gals. We'll have a consolidated list for you in a couple of days about who can make it,
Okay.
because they do make their living fishing and hunting, and so
Yeah. Yeah. Of course. Right. I'm going to end it here. Stay where you are, Jeff. Take everyone in the chat, take care of each other and look after yourselves and just stay safe. I'll speak to you next week. Take care. Bye bye.
bye everyone.